What is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? Hopefully the audio is decent. If you're wondering why I've got headphones in, I'm just literally about to check my own audio because it's showing up as quite loud on the OBS, and I don't want to be deafening you guys. So hopefully it will show up. It will hurry up and show up on my iPad. But of course it isn't. Oh well, if it's not, I'm sure you guys will tell me if it is too loud. So thank you so much for joining. We got Thomas McCarthy and Seb in the chat already. So thank you for joining. And the audio sounds alright, so good. Cool. We are set, ladies and gentlemen, mainly gentlemen. First of all, I would like just to apologise for anyone that is a fan of FPL Boss as well as me, because we're streaming at the same time and I didn't know he was going to stream tonight. So apologies if you're a fan of FPL Boss and you have chosen me, but I appreciate it. And apologies to FPL Boss if he does watch this later. Welcome to the chat, Thomas McCarthy, Seb, Enger Turk, Shashank Bandari, Michael Ringsell as well. Thank you for the comment about the haircut. It's a bit of a weird shape right here because I'm old and it's starting to thin. Yeah, great. Thinning hairline. Fantastic. As Thomas McCarthy has asked, of course, what is everyone else drinking? I am drinking Amigos. It's a Mexican beer. So yeah, it's got tequila in it apparently. So this might be a mad one. So, all of that being said, hopefully you've all checked the videos that I released this morning. My team and what we learned both released, I wouldn't say early, because I sometimes release what we learned Monday or Sunday, but both released. So hopefully you've checked them out. We've also got Jack Nash, Aman Dillon, and Jose Luis Gonzalez Clua all in the chat. So let's get on with some of the questions. Let's answer them. And let's try and fix my sub or my view account in the top left-hand corner because that's annoying me when it says 0. Anyway, first question comes from Jack Nash. What are the chances of Sterling playing Thursday? Right now, I think he's showing us 75% in the actual game, which is better than he was showing because I believe it said 50% muscle injury. As far as the website I've got to keep a track on injuries, he's got a thigh injury, has a muscle problem. Right now, I don't know if he will be fit for Sunday. Sunday would have been the cup game, so that's not important to us. It says potential return is the 1st of March, so he could be back in time for the Thursday clash against Arsenal. Hopefully he will be, because I still have him to play, but it's not looking definite, unfortunately. Thank you, Amanda Dillon. Good to see you. It's been a while. Desiree Charija is in the house. Very cold. -23. It's been snowing here, actually. It's not, I wouldn't say it's as cold as it is for you, but it has been snowing here, so I think it's cold pretty much everywhere at the moment. Anyway, while we wait for some more questions and for some more people to join the chat, let's just quickly go over how I've done for the game week. So far, if I actually go to points, I've got 56 points. Average is 38, game week rank of 346,099th. Highest points scored at the moment is 93, which isn't bad. And then overall rank at the moment is 38,733. I'm hoping that Sterling does play and score, but I need Otamendi to not keep a clean sheet. So I need some Arsenal players to score that ideally aren't highly owned. Purely because if you see in the cup against Guns and Moses, 56 points to his 51, and he has left to play Sterling and Otamendi. Now, if some of my defenders had kept the clean sheets they were meant to get, then I'd probably feel a lot more comfortable. But right now, Otamendi is the person that will decide if I stay in the FPL Cup or not. And to be honest, the person I'm playing, if you look, his overall rank is pretty impressive. 322nd overall, which is a very, very good ranking. So, I mean, if I am going to go out to an opponent in the FPL Cup, I suppose he isn't a bad one to go out to. Top performers, mentioned in the video already, but Salah, Shaqiri, Firmino, Harry Kane all came up with the goods. Everyone else failed to perform. 45th in the FPL Today League. Fantasy Football Surgery Podcast, I'm 122nd, which isn't too bad. Kurt Joy's League, I'm 82nd. FPL Updates Writers, I'm 3rd, so not doing too bad. We the Community, which is a football manager group, I'm 1st. Always nice to see you first there. As far as West Ham fans go, I'm 477th, which isn't too bad as well. Squad value is 102 million, and we've got 0.9 in the bank. So, back to the chat. Hopefully we've got some people having joined. It's a bit of a slow day today, so I'll just have to talk to myself. But, to be honest, people say I'm good at that. Maybe they think I'm a little bit loopy. A man Dylan, 17 degrees. Is that Celsius or Fahrenheit? Because big difference there. Seb, got that feeling it's Captain Kane time this game week after going Salah the last couple of game weeks. I'm going to feel really weird moving away from Mohamed Salah purely because he's done so well for me and has been so consistent. I mean, if we just look, last 4 game weeks, he's got some sort of return. And if you captain in, that's 16 points, 30, 26 and 20. He did have a quiet period in this Swansea game, but 11 points, didn't play, 14 points, 9 points, 10. He just feels safe. Whereas Harry Kane, I mean, that's disappointing in comparison. But of course, you do have scores like this, 13, 17, 17. Fixture-wise, fixtures look good, especially if he plays in Game Week 31. Only Chelsea Game Week 32 and 34 is Man City. Otherwise, we could be expecting some good performances from Harry Kane. As far as Liverpool are concerned, again, though, nice fixture list. You've got Man United in Game Week 30, and then you've got Chelsea in Game Week 37, but otherwise a nice run towards the end of the season, which is interesting because Liverpool, of course, on form, and Man City do have a tougher run of fixtures up until Game Week 35. So that would be interesting to see if Liverpool can close any sort of gap at all. But of course, that's going to rely on some of the bigger teams getting some points against Man City. Desiree Charija, I've already started my scouting for next... Wow, you're planning ahead, Desiree Charija. That is some advanced planning. I've got the World Cup to think about before we even get on to Fantasy Premier League for 2018-19 season. But if you've got any notes, let us know. Let us know in the chat. We've got Jan Arvid Jacobson joining the chat. Thank you for joining, my friend. Thomas McCarthy still having a bad time of it. Rank is now 6 million. Really sorry to hear that. But like I said, you can really raise in rankings this point in the season. But it's strange because every time I look at your side, I don't see a bad side. So it is strange that your rank is that low. Florence Sandu, how you doing, my friend? Thank you for joining the chat. What is the plan for Game Week 31? Can I use my free hit? You can use a free hit, Desiree Charija. That isn't my plan. I have said before that my plan is to try and be as prepared for Game Week 31 as possible without using my free hit. So we've got 4 fixtures here, and to be honest, if we look at it, apart from Liverpool, none of those are really players or teams that you're going to be getting a lot of players from for your team. So I have a feeling 8 to 9 players could be okay for Game Week 31. So right now, I've got Van Dijk, Salah, Firmino all playing, Wilson playing, we've got Shaqiri and Walcott playing. I think defensively, though, I think that's it. So I do need to bring in some defenders, maybe, and a goalkeeper. Kane could, of course, be playing. And if Spurs are playing, then Spurs players will be brought in as well. But I personally think this is going to be a low-scoring game week no matter what happens. So you could use a free hit then. My plan is to not, and then wildcard for Game Week 32 with the blanks and doubles in mind for the team I pick between game weeks. And to be honest, you've got a nice long 14, 15-day period between Saturday 17th of March and then Saturday 31st of March. So you've got plenty of time to make your changes in that window as well. And then you're going to have blanks in Game Week 34, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly. No, double game week in Game Week 34 most likely. So in that situation. The team will be built for that and Game Week 37. And then blank Game Week in 35, most likely, that is when I'll use my free hit to just pick a team that is good for that game week. And then it will revert back to the team that I've picked for Game Week 34 and 37. Bench boost most likely used in 34. And then I don't have anything else to play, I believe, for Game Week 37. So that is the plan for me. It does depend on how many chips you've got, of course. But I personally don't think it is necessary to use it in Game Week 31 when the Game Week 35, right now, Game Week 35, the way it's shaping up, if this is how they do it, West Brom and Liverpool is going to happen. Everton Newcastle is going to happen. Arsenal West Ham is going to happen. Stoke Burnley is going to be happening. And Watford Crystal Palace is going to be happening. That's 5 guaranteed fixtures. And then as far as I'm aware, you will get some additional fixtures to that. So if Man United beat Brighton, then Bournemouth, Man United will blank. I think Brighton, because they got Tottenham, it completely depends on what Tottenham do against Swansea. Tottenham likely to beat Swansea, I'd suppose, as long as they can beat Rochdale as well, which would mean Man City Swansea is a confirmed fixture. Chelsea Huddersfield, again, and Leicester Southampton, those are up in the air because there's a lot of variables there. But we know, big team-wise, Liverpool and Arsenal are both playing no matter what in Game Week 35. So I would say free hit is a lot better off for that game week. Shashank Bandari, time for Arnautovic despite the blank. I'll be honest, Shashank, Arnautovic looked good despite the fact that Liverpool managed to lose 4-1. Liverpool managed to win 4-1 against West Ham. So I would say, you know what, Arnautovic still looks decent. He looks hungry to score goals, which of course is a plus. And I don't know what their fixtures are like though, so if I quickly have a look at their fixtures. We have, 35, 36 isn't great, if we're perfectly honest. That Man United game is going to get slotted in somewhere. Maybe the Stoke and then Man United fixture. So it isn't a bad run of fixtures. I think Arnautovic could definitely be part of a rotation if you can fit him in your midfield. So I like Arnautovic. He may come into my consideration, but of course my focus will be on players that have double game weeks. Arnautovic most likely going to have one in game week 34, so I could be looking at him. Wow, suddenly I've got loads of messages in my chat. Jan Iver Jacobson, 58 points, nothing from my defenders. Jan Iver Jacobson, my defence. At one point I had me, Pope and Duffy all with clean sheets and bonus points with some of them. And I looked like I was going to be really laughing going into the end of this game week. But it didn't happen for me. All of them conceding goals late on. Desiree Chirija, time to drop Son, potentially. There's going to be rotation because of the Champions League. Lamella is back. They've got Lucas Moura, so there's options there. I would say Son is the one that is most rotation risk. So I would definitely think of dropping Son. That is my take on the situation there anyway. Aman Dillon, hopefully you win against your cup opponent. Probably the only person I know is in the cup. This has been, Aman Dillon, the best cup run I have ever had in the FPL Cup. I have never got past like 2 or 3 knockout rounds. So it will be disappointing if I get knocked out. But you know what? I'm just happy I've had such a great run. Jack Nash, I'm currently ranked 15k in the world. Do you think finishing top 5k is realistic? Yes, definitely realistic, because there will still be some people high up in those rankings with some decent players that may not plan properly for the double game week, or they may have used a lot of their chips so they can't take advantage of it as much as you can, depending on, of course, your situation. It's definitely possible. What I will say is what you do need to remember right near the end of the season, or as we get close to the end of the season, suddenly certain players will have more to play for and other players will have less to play for. Look at potentially players that could be breaking into their international side for the World Cup, and that's not just English players. You want to look at players who want to maybe put themselves in the shop window for other clubs. You want to look at players that, or teams that have relegation to fight against or titles to fight for. And then, of course, there's teams that are just going to have nothing to play for anymore. And it doesn't matter if they lose 3 on the trot, they'll probably still be mid-table. So those kind of players you can start transferring out. Or you could get rotation from those sides as well. And sometimes that means someone comes in who wants to prove himself as well. So you never know. Try and predict good performances and try and find players that are going to be differentials for you near the end of the season. Because right near the end of the season, that's when it becomes a sprint. It's no longer a marathon then, so you could literally bring a player in for one game week in the last game week, and all you need is for him to do really well in game week 38, and that's it, season over. Aman Dillon, transfer in for Ericsson this week. Transfer Son for Ericsson this week. You could do. I would potentially try and hold the transfer until you know if Tottenham are playing in game week 31 or not. But that's the way I look at it. Liam Shaw, what's your favourite Wetherspoons dish? I haven't eaten in Wetherspoons in a while. I believe they do a black and blue burger though, so that would probably be it. I am a fan of cheese and I'm a fan of burgers, so not that you probably couldn't tell, but I'd say that is probably the one that I can think of off the top of my head. I haven't actually seen a Wetherspoons menu in a while though. I've not been to a Wetherspoons in a while, which is quite shocking. Jan Ivor Jacobson, how about Davis on Tottenham? Nice fixtures. Raged him, I transferred him in. I'm assuming that means in for Dunk this weekend. I like Davis. It looks like he's beaten off the rotation risk because he has played the majority of games. And I was singing his praises early season. And I personally think if he could just nail down his spot, he is a really good option. Has great underlying stats as well. And he's played every game since game week 22. And as you can see, he's got 6.6, 8, 6. And then, of course, he can pop up with goals. He can pop up with assists. Clean sheets as well, of course. Actually, he hasn't popped up with goals in a while. But there are a few assists littered in there. But I definitely think he is a great option. And if he was just more nailed on and I wasn't worried about rotation, which looks like it shouldn't be a worry anymore, I do think he is a very, very good player to have in your fantasy football teams. But with the Champions League, I'm still worried that rotation risk is there. The false 9, Shaqiri for Son this game week. Easy decision to make. Mate, I absolutely love Shaqiri right now. Got me singing Shakira songs all weekend. I don't remember him ever having a period like this before though, where 8, 10 and 9. I mean, I suppose there he had an assist and a goal scored, 4 and 5. He had an assist, goal and assist, and then an assist there. So he's actually done it more than once this season. I'm very happy with him, especially because he's a player that can be playing for me in the double game week. But I'm assuming his ownership is just on the rise. So you can definitely bring him in. I'm just happy I brought him in, I think it was 3 game weeks ago, just before this purple patch. So I'm very happy with Shaqiri. I would definitely back that decision to bring him in. 40 points so far. Need something from Otamendi. No. False 9. Nothing from Otamendi, or I'm out of the cup. Not a single defender point yet. Neither from me. Dunk own goal, and Daniel's conceding 2 and getting sub before half time. Gomez didn't play. I mean, I feel for you, but I really would like to carry on in the cup. So I can't be on your side for once, the false 9, unfortunately. Jack Morgan, how many hits is too many for game week 31? I plan 1 and playing with 10 plus Loftus-Cheek. Reckon I should take 1 more hit and swap him out for Siggy perhaps. I would say, Jack, it's not necessary. I personally think that in that game week you can probably get away with... Wow, Espanyol have just scored against Real Madrid in the 92nd minute. Wow. Sorry, my phone just updated me on a score. That is surprising, but of course I don't really watch that much Spanish football, so I don't know. But anyway, carry on with your question. I would say you don't need 11 players. I personally think a lot of people won't have 11 players, but there is of course the argument of you're only taking a -2 really. So if you can get 10 plus Loftus-Cheek without taking a hit, 1 hit if you bring in Siggy and he scores, you're already doing better than if you hadn't. So I would potentially take it, actually. If you're that close to having 11 players, then it could be worth the risk. I suppose it all depends on how many risks you're willing to take now we're getting to the tail end of the season. Would you consider any... Probably not. If you're talking about Watford players, I'm not feeling Watford players right now. I mean, Liverpool's defence is decent. Jamal Rice proved that to me, despite the fact I was saying they weren't. Liverpool-Watford at home, I think Liverpool could get a clean sheet. So I would not suggest Watford players, because I think Liverpool will score against Watford. I think money right now is always on Liverpool getting something. I would not be looking at Watford players. You could maybe bring in a Watford attacking player, because they could concede, of course. They conceded against West Ham, and ideally for me, they would have just won 4-0 by that point, because Virgil van Dijk would have got me a clean sheet. I know I'm a West Ham fan, but they were just never going to win that game after Salah, Mane and Firmino really got going. And the man Dylan, don't get me started on Lingard. I had Lingard for a while. Didn't just bench him, I transferred him out. Instead of transferring out Richarlison, Richarlison still was on my bench anyway. I was at the pub when he scored and I was annoyed. And my mate's a Man United fan and he was going, Messi, Lingard. And I'm like, shut up. This isn't what I need to be hearing right now. BC Venkatesh, how you doing, my friend? Help from my injury-struck team. Kane, Firmino, that's decent. Jordan Ayew's. I mean, I personally think there's better third strikers out there, but Jordan Ayew isn't a bad choice. Mahrez, Sterling. Sterling may be fit in time for the Arsenal game. Shaqiri's a good shout. Salah, Walcott, Vertonghen, Jones, I think, is injured, if memory serves me correctly. Or is he? I feel like he is, but I could be lying. But he's not in my team anymore, is he? So let's have a quick check. Yep, Jones at 50% though. That means he's close to being back. Let's see if I can find out anything. Phil Jones, no return date. So yeah, Phil Jones is an issue. Me, Laporte, Joe Gomez, Pickford, Elliott. Well, Jones, I think, needs to be transferred out. As far as I'm aware, me is fine. Is Laporte fine? I'm not seeing anything about Laporte, but I'm not sure of his game time. And Gomez's game time could be a risk. Pickford is fine. Elliott needs to go. So I'd be looking at Elliott, Jones, maybe Laporte and Gomez. So mainly defence you need to worry about. And I'll be looking at defenders that are playing in Gameweek 31. The ones I am looking at that I don't have already, because I've already got Virgil van Dijk. That's the one that is playing. So I would suggest him if you don't have him. I'm looking at Nathan Ake, Craig Dawson and Patrick Van Aanholt. Purely because they have some sort of goal or chance creation threat. So hopefully they get some points in that game week. And I think if any of those three, if I bring them all in or if I bring in two, if any one of them scores a goal or gets an assist, that could be massive in Game Week 31. We got Siraj in the chat. You're late. You knew when I was coming on as well. Disappointed, Siraj. Just kidding. Good to see you in the chat. I apologise for streaming during so many Man United games. Just that was the day I was free. Promise it's not planned. There isn't an anti-bias against Man United. To be honest, I'll take points off of any player if they're playing well. I don't know what happened. I wasn't getting any live chat notifications from FPL today. I have been coming on live, but I have been getting lower numbers. YouTube seems to have changed something as well, because even as a viewer, I've noticed it doesn't just show me like in a time order, like a normal order, what was uploaded latest when I go to my subscriptions. It shows me just random stuff now, which is annoying, and I know there has been issues with YouTube letting subscribers know when stuff is live and when videos are up. So yeah, I can't, there's nothing I can do about what YouTube do on their end. Sterling to Sane or Ramsey? I would say neither, purely because I would be looking to get in Game Week 31 players. If you're not getting in a Game Week 31 player, then I don't see the point in the transfer, because you could bring in Sane or Ramsey. You've got them for Game Week 29 and Game Week 30, and then you don't have them for Game Week 31. Of course, that if you don't have a wild card, first off I'll say this, if you don't have a wild card, then there's no point in changing your team just for a bad game week, because then you've got to start changing it back. So I will put that out there. Only bring in that many Game Week 31 players if you're wildcarding after that game week. Now, of course, that doesn't count people like Van Dijk or Mane or someone like that, who is probably going to be good for the rest of the season anyway. But someone you're only bringing in because they are playing in a game week, if you don't have confidence in them for the rest of the season, you don't have a wild card, there's no point to bring him in. So I should definitely put that on as an asterisk on any transfer I'm suggesting. If you don't have a wild card, then don't go and rush and bring in Watford players, because Watford aren't doing that great right now. Don't rush and bring in Crystal Palace players, because as soon as Game Week 31's over, you're going to be wanting the players you've got rid of. Steve Shotton says 40% of the top 10k have already played their free hit. This is why I'm telling you can raise so much, because people play their chips early. And I mean, I know I've played one of my chips early, the triple captain, which I wish I hadn't, because again, I played it early and it didn't work. But I was taking a gamble. But I think stuff like bench boost and this new chip free hit and the late wildcard, I think this is the best time to be playing it, when you get the blanks and double game weeks, because then you can get massive points. I still want a 200 point game week, because I think, if memory serves me correctly, last year the best I got was almost 150 in a game week. So I'm looking for something similar to that at least in the double game weeks. Shashank Bandari, is Joshua King a good option for Game Week 31? I know what he did in the last year's blank game week. I would say there's some difference though, because last year Joshua King was on form and was a must-start player for Bournemouth. Right now, I don't really see any of them. Even Callum Wilson looks replaceable because of his recent blanks. I'd say it could be worth a risk. But right now, to me, I'd be looking at Wilson and then Stanislas. But I reckon it's a coin toss, and I also reckon there's the risk of Wilson being dropped as well, which would really hurt my blank game week plans. When is the double game week from Dinesh L? Should we make a triple captain or free hit? So the double game weeks at the moment are going to be most likely Game Week 34 and Game Week 37, because that doesn't clash with much else. What you're looking at as far as double game weeks is the fixtures that haven't happened for Game Week 31 being moved to Game Week 34. And those fixtures, if I can just find them. So Game Week 31, Burnley, Chelsea, Leicester, Arsenal, Man City, Brighton, Swansea, Southampton and West Ham, Man United are all being moved, most likely to Game Week 34. So Game Week 34... Wait, have they already moved some? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8... No, they haven't. So Man United have West Brom, for example. And if I can just bring it up. And then Man United have the West Ham game to move. So West Ham, West Brom for Man United. That's promising for a double game week. And then we have Man City, Brighton to be moved. And Man City have Spurs. So, of course, that isn't as tempting as the Man United ones. You have Arsenal, Leicester and Chelsea, Burnley. So Arsenal, Leicester and Arsenal, wherever it is, Newcastle, which is tempting for the Arsenal players. And then Chelsea, Southampton, Chelsea, Burnley. Again, you could be taking a punt on some Chelsea players. So that is what we're looking for Game Week 34. So blank Game Week 31, double Game Week 34, most likely. It's not confirmed. blank game week 35 because the FA Cup semi-finals, and then most likely double game week 37, which is harder to predict, of course, because I can't see into the future. But that is when they're most likely to be happening. Desiree Chirija says, I'll keep Ben Davies till the end. Part of me wishes I had, because he's had some good game weeks. After a blank week, must be a double game week. They usually schedule it so it clashes with the least amount of football. Usually that is game week 37 and 34. So that's most likely what's going to happen this season. That's what the predictions are. So there will be game week 32 and 33 before the double game week. I still want Tottenham to lose. Keeps me in a blank game. True, I'll keep Kane. That would be good for me if Kane stays in my side. 35% of the top 10k have already played their wildcards. The player manager is going to be in a little trouble over the coming weeks of blanks and double game weeks. Exactly, Steve. There's going to be players above you. There won't be loads of them, don't get me wrong. But there's going to be players above you that have already played their chips or their wildcard. So they're going to struggle to field full teams of 11. And then in the double game weeks, they're going to struggle to bring in as many double game week players as possible for both game weeks. So, for both double game weeks. So, there's a chance for big, big games this period of Fantasy Premier League. Do you think Aguero will play Thursday or get rested? I don't know what the story is on Gabriel Jesus, but it looks like he's fit. How far are they ahead in the league? Like, if I actually look at the league table, 72 points to 59 and 57. So that is 13 points ahead. If they win, they're 16 points ahead. But to me, that looks like a fixture they could potentially rest Aguero in. I know it's against Arsenal, and they're going to most likely want to beat Arsenal, but if I'm trying to think like Pep Guardiola, I'd think I could potentially rest him against Arsenal. Especially how convincing they beat Arsenal. But of course, Arsenal may want to get some revenge. So, who knows? But my gut feeling says Pep might rest Aguero for that one. Of course, I don't know that for definite. That is just a guess. Don't take my word as gospel there. Michael Foley, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. We've got Wazza in the chat as well. Nice to see you back in the chat, my friend. Thank you, Jack. I'm glad you agree. Ammon didn't hate to say it, but Silas drew a blank. Oh, yeah, he's definitely going to get a blank at some point. But you know what? I don't mind if he gets a blank if he's gone and scored 4 or 5 game weeks in a row and then carries on scoring after that. So I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, no, he's blanked. And people start panicking. That Liverpool attack looks good. And Salah will continue to score in my eyes. It's Messi, Lingard. Siraj, I don't like Lingard right now. How dare he score after I transfer him out? I gave him plenty of chances. Lukaku, should I get him in? I have Kane and Sergio already. Michael Foley, my personal feeling is if you have Kane and Sergio Aguero, you don't need Lukaku. I know he's done well, or he got good points against Chelsea. Having watched the game, do I think it could have been different? Yes. I think Lukaku, to me, isn't as good as Kane and Aguero, basically. So I'm always going to be happier with Kane and Aguero. There might certainly be fixtures or periods where you might want Lukaku, like the double game week. You may decide, you know what, I'm going to take the risk with Lukaku because he's going to be having West Ham the same time he's playing West Brom. Or if it was moved somewhere else, who knows who he could be having. Game week 37, Brighton, could be a double game week for him there. So I can see why you'd consider bringing him in. but I'm going to be quite happy with Kane. So I don't even have Aguero either. I've got Firmino because he's been doing well as well. So I personally don't think you need Lukaku. That's my own thoughts on that. Hey, you should make a video for Blank Game Week after tomorrow's game. You know, maybe I've already considered doing something like that. But the issue is, of course, my wife is pregnant and she is due on the 5th. So she could pop any day now, and then you may suddenly get a period of quietness on the channel, which is why I've got both the videos up already and we're getting a stream done right now. So if something happens tomorrow, already got the content out for you guys. Siraj, which ship should I use for double game week? Free hit for triple captain. I would say, Siraj, for me, of course, the blank game week you need to use before a double game week. If you've got bench boost, then bench boost is the one I'd use in the double game week you think you can get the most points in. For me, I believe that will be game week 34, because game week 37 stuff has been decided already. After the bench boost, then triple captain is always good if you've got someone who's got 2 good fixtures, who can score lots of points. As far as free hit, I'm really suggesting to people use it for game week 35, because then you can plan around that blank game week without worrying about that blank game week at all. So that is what I would do personally. Steve Shotton, wildcard 32-33, yep. Bench boost 34, yep. Free hit 35, triple captain 37. Exactly. I would agree with that, Steve, 100%. The only downside for me is I don't have the triple captain for game week 37. But I 100% am going to be wildcarding game week 32 and then bench boosting 34, free hitting 35. Should I use my free hit 31 if I don't have a wild card? Again, I'd say no, because you have Ricky Lid. You have, I know it's less time now, but when I started talking about it, it was more time. You have more time now to prepare for game week 31 than you have from a double game week 34 to a blank game week 35, if that is what happens. You literally have 1 transfer, or maybe 2, depending on how you play it, between a double game week and a blank game week. So for me, the free hit is best used and utilised in game week 35. Siraj, I'll definitely consider it if I can manage to fit it in. Jan Howard Jacobson, Firmino and Quainer will be my strikers in 31. Hopefully Q plays. He's been alright lately. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind. It's one of those times you can take a gamble, because there will be plenty of players who don't have a team of 11. See there, I disagree, Siraj, but I see you're thinking about not using free hit in a blank game week, but I think there will be good options in that blank game week 35, because you do have some of the bigger teams playing, whereas right now this blank game week 31 looks like only Liverpool are playing out of the good teams. So I think free hit can be very fruitful in game week 35. Ricky Lid, I would then take a hit. If you can only get 7 players for game week 31, I reckon 8 is the ideal number. Well, 11 is the ideal number. But I think you want to be aiming for 8. And remember, if the player you pick plays, you're only taking a -2. And then if he scores or assists, you're already doing better than if you hadn't brought the player in. Steve Shotton, have you been reading my notes? I'm sure you've been reading my notes, because I agree there as well. You can get away with 8 to 9 players in game week 31. Big point scorers in game week 31 will be the Liverpool players if they perform, and then it's luck. You can try and hedge your bets. I think there are some players in form that could magically have an amazing game week 31. You've got Shaqiri right now, could potentially have a great game week 31. You've got Theo Walcott, has the potential to score goals. So there are options. Callum Wilson has the potential to score a couple of goals. But it would be luck. But I think try and get those players in. And then if 1 or 2 of them do really well, you're probably going to be quite happy with yourself. Siraj, let me explain again. A -2 it's not actually a -2 in a blank game week. It's not the FPL changing the rules and saying it's a blank game week, so you're only taking -2 hits. What it means is if you're transferring out a player that is not going to play, has no chance of playing in a game week because their team isn't playing, bringing in someone that will play because their team is playing and they're nailed on, they get 2 to 3 points for playing anyway. So you're, in theory, only taking a -2. If they don't play, then you're still taking the -4. If for some reason they get dropped or they get injured, you are still taking the -4. But, for instance, Sterling has no chance of playing in Game Week 31. So if you transfer him out for Walcott, whose team is playing and he starts and he plays the whole game, even if he does nothing, he gets a -2. He gets 2 points, which means you've got 2 points more than if you'd kept Sterling. So you're only taking a -2. If Walcott then gets 2 bonus points, or he scores, or he assists, you're not taking a hit anymore because you've made the transfer and you've made more points than you've taken a hit for. So that is why people say -2, is because if you know a player isn't playing, then you're not taking a -4 if you replace him for someone that definitely is. Of course, there's never a definite player. They could get injured in the warm-up, but that's what it means. Would you sell Sanchez for Martial? Potentially. I mean, right now, I'm honestly, from what I've seen of Man United, there is no one I really want from that Man United side, desperately. The reason I went with Lingard is because he was cheap and scoring. But right now, Martial has looked good. Sanchez looks like he's not fit in fully yet. I mean, I personally think Mourinho's not playing the right formation for that side. And I think that side's capable of a lot more, but that's irrelevant. I can only use what is being played by the manager that's there. I don't feel a desperate need to get in a Manchester United player. I probably will bring him in when there's a double game week, but I may just ignore it, potentially. That could, of course, hurt me, but when I've watched him, there's not a Man United player that I think I need that person more than I need a Man City or Liverpool player. Blue Bees, exactly. Time to push up the ranks. There we go. I've finished my Amigos. And by the way, of course, if you haven't told me yet, what are you all drinking? And if you wish to support the stream in any way, there are various links in the description. And of course, you can super chat. We had a great super chat session a couple of streams ago where a bunch of you guys did support the channel, and we got sponsors as well, so you can sponsor the stream as well. And I literally was just making all that, talking about all of that because I was opening another beer. Not a Mexican one anymore though. That does not taste as good as the first one, but never mind. Salah scores, doesn't matter, almost everyone has him in. Exactly, unless you captain him, Salah scoring doesn't make much of a difference. I've noticed ever since I've been captaining him, when Salah scores, I do go up in rank. When I haven't been captaining him, Salah scoring doesn't affect my rank at all. So Raj, I would definitely try, like, just seeing your comment there, I would definitely try and do a video about the blank game week. Wilson has been really annoying. I've brought him in right when I don't... I think I've literally done the same with Wilson as I did with Lingard. I brought him in when he's not scoring. I'm now worried if I take him out, he'll go and score 2 or 3. Mooney over Wilson for Game Week 31. Personally, I wouldn't go Huddersfield over Bournemouth. But to be fair, it could work out. This is also the type of time when someone like Benteke completely messes everyone up, and someone who's kept Benteke for no reason benefits. So anything could happen in a blank game week. I'm not sure what you mean there, Siraj, about FPL family. Ricky Lid, that is why I'm saying if you don't have... You may have already said this, so apologies. If you don't have a wild card, then you have to consider, do you want these players in after the blank game week? If we look at some of the main contenders in the blank game week, Shaqiri right now is one I'm suggesting, of course. His fixtures afterwards, Arsenal and Spurs. So that's not good at all. If we go to Everton via Walcott, you're going to be looking at Man City and Liverpool. So again, really bad. That's why I'll be playing my wildcard game week 32. If we go Watford, not that I'm a fan of the Watford side right now. They have Bournemouth, Burnley, Huddersfield, Palace. So that's a decent run. Even though they're not in the best of form, that's a decent run. If we look at Huddersfield, and I'd say the best Huddersfield midfielder, although that's worrying, knee injury, expected back 3rd of March, so he might be back in time for this period. Again, that's not bad up until game week 35. So you could plan for players that, if you don't have a wild card, that could do all right for you. Palace, there's always the guy I can't say the name of who's on penalty duty. After 31, he does have Liverpool, but then it's pretty good fixtures after that. Who else is in there? You've got Bournemouth as well. So if we look at the Bournemouth options, after game week 31, it does get bad by 34, but it gives you 32 and 33 to kind of shift them out, or shift other players out if necessary. So, and I mean, of course, if Spurs do stay in it, then you could bring in Spurs players, and they're not players you need to get out as quickly. Thoughts on Willian? Willian is a great player. I personally think he'd be better off at a club that appreciated him more, if that makes sense. He's played really well recently, but I also feel like because he's in a team with like Hazard, Pedro, Morata, I just feel like he doesn't always get the credit he's deserved and doesn't always get the guaranteed game time he's deserved. I would maybe bring him in for double game weeks though. But again, it also always depends on who is fit, who isn't fit. You can always have De Gea next season and Pogba. Again, Pogba's not one I'm really liking the look of right now, but De Gea is going to be costly next season. So I probably won't have De Gea next season because he'll probably cost me more than I want to pay for a goalkeeper. He was more than I wanted to pay for a goalkeeper this season until I saw his points. But by that point, it had risen in price too much. Aman Dillon, what I would say is if you have the wild card, definitely bring in Shaqiri for Lingard for game week 31. If you don't, then if you think Lingard is going to be better for you in the long run, then maybe don't. Jan Jacobson, you are 100% correct. If you only have the free hit chip left, don't go overboard with your transfers. I do sometimes forget that people have used chips and stuff at different times than I have. I have been pushing the blank game week players, but yes, if you can't get them out afterwards, then I would potentially not bring in as many as I'm suggesting. As far as the cans, they are 500ml cans. To be honest, Gordon, I get the cheap beer for the streams because I'm drinking 2 or 3 a stream and I don't want to spend too much of my money on the streams just yet. When they get even bigger, then we might bring in the big guns. We might bring in some spirits, who knows. Gordon Gilbody's only got a bench boost chip left. That is a bummer, my friend, but you can still do decent with it. Siraj, check out Ben Krillin. That is his name, isn't it? Let me check. Ben Krillin, at Ben, and then Krellin is Crellin. Everything on his Twitter will help you with the fixtures. He is my go-to this time of season. Siraj has risen back up to under 200k. Well done. Liam Shaw, how many pints does it get to get you proper inebriated? Completely depends on how much I've eaten. I haven't got proper inebriated in a while. I had 7 beers on Sunday, and I got home very, very drunk. And because I was drinking during the day, my hangover was at 4 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, yeah, let me do it. So, yeah, I've lost my train of thought because I saw the next question. I used to drink a lot, so it used to take a lot. It doesn't take as much anymore because having a family and everything, I do drink less often. And I usually drink in a more, like at home or a quiet drink with friends, that kind of stuff. So, I think that's the correct one. Ben Nope, it is wrong. Krellin. That's the one. There we go. Sorry, that's the correct one, Siraj. So for anyone that wants to see the fixtures and how they're going to work out, that there is the Twitter handle for the guy that pretty much has it all sorted. Anyway, guys, I believe that is it for this stream because we've got through all the questions. So, of course, thank you, as always, for joining the stream. If you do want to support the stream or the channel in any way, various links in the description, as well as, I've just seen the question Simon the Bomb, so I will get to it. As well as you can sponsor the stream and, of course, super chat whenever the stream is live. All help is much appreciated and goes straight towards the channel and improving it. And we will be planning, hopefully for the Patreons, a Discord chat is the plan, where you can get hold of me with your FPL questions no matter what time of day it is. My work does have crap reception, but you'll literally be able to message me about FPL and you'll be able to talk amongst yourselves about FPL as well. So a Discord chat is something I'm thinking of bringing to Patreons and anyone that supports the channel via sponsorship and so on and so forth. So that would be my kind of way of paying those people back. Simon the Bomb, I've seen your question, so let's get to it quickly before we go. Thinking of bench boosting one of the blanks, maybe Gameweek 31, to try and win the weekly prize. There's no way I can win the season from 700k. Is this a good, bad idea? Still have a wild card and a free hit and a bench boost. I mean, if you're going to try and win the weekly prize, you could go for that. I mean, from 700k, I still think you could reach like the top 100k. So it completely depends on your goal. If you want to just go all out and win one game week, there's still no guarantee that even using a free hit or, yeah, that's what you have left, bench boost, sorry, for Game Week 31, you could be using players and just not have the right 2 or 3 players and not win it anyway. So you could definitely try it. I would still suggest you can really raise the rankings. Thank you, Siraj, so much for the wishing my wife a safe labour. Thank you, Jan Arthur Jacobson. Good night, mate, to you as well. Thank you so much for joining the stream. We are calling it here. I've been JNO. This has been FPL Today. And remember, it's all about the game. Good night.